Take care of the fools of desire. A lot of people, well, not very many people, but a lot of people have asked me about world making and how I go about making a campaign. So I'm gonna just get into that. The main thing that I do is I ask my players what I want, what they're looking for in a campaign, like hack and slash, role play, a little mixture of both, and try to give it to them. Like I might just start off with a basic map or whatever, and anyone who's played in my world knows I've got my whole world basically mapped out already. Still working on a few continents and everything, but for the most part I start you off where you're at, and I do different timeline wise to what's happening, but I don't like to start off at the tavern, like you all gather and meet some weird stranger in a tavern, because I think that's overplayed. Like it's my thing. Don't get me wrong, I have done it countless times. It's just not how I choose to start out campaigns these days. But once I talk with the players, I usually just get their background, especially in 5th edition. That's real easy, but for other editions of D&D, I just kind of ask them about their character. Like I have a 22 question thing that I can do a whole nother video on, but I usually ask them those questions and just go through and try to make it work. And most people I play with are, excuse me, but keep yawning. Anyways, but are pretty tired of doing that basic tavern entrance, so we stop that. They're mainly hack and slash type players, but they do like their random puzzles. They definitely enjoy the role play. Like right now, I do have a player who is in game is romanticizing in a relationship, about to marry an NPC that was just supposed to deliver a package. So I definitely let that happen. I did not expect it. It wasn't part of my game plan for that session at all, but he's kept up with it. It's been about 5-6 months in game of him just constantly making sure that that NPC character knows that his character does care, and it's pretty new to me. I've never had anyone actually constantly go back to an NPC that didn't give them a benefit per se, so that was pretty interesting. But normally with planning campaign and world building, I start off with something small, like you hear like gnolls have blocked the road or something, and you're gonna go investigate. Maybe you didn't hear it, maybe you witnessed it firsthand, like you were just walking, going from one town to another, and gnolls just so happened to be blocking the road, and you obviously were one of their victims from it, and maybe they tried to ransack you, whatever. You fought back, and you get into town and find out that that's been happening for a few months now, and people want their stuff back. You go on that mission to figure out exactly where the gnolls were, maybe meet a few other adventurers in town willing to help, maybe even a townfolk stands up and agrees to help, kind of thing. You go there and you do some tracking, maybe, just any way the player characters can backtrack from the road encounter into to figure out where the lair is of the gnolls, and then from there they find what seems to be everyone's stuff they're missing. Ooh, I don't know why I'm yawning so much, but all the stuff they're missing, and maybe I'll throw in a few more gnolls, but going amongst the stuff, I'll probably throw in something like no one claims that they brought back to town and like did the whole whatever, like I don't know, like a orb, something that they need to go invest, and they go to, after that they go to a mage college, things like that, and get that investigated, and so forth and so on. Like it eventually might lead to a lich, a dragon, who knows, maybe even into the Underdark, random things like that. But it's just how I do it. For the most part, with campaign prepping for it, I just give basic plan. Like I don't write out like everything. I used to do that a lot, but now I basically just write out what I want to happen. Like the gnolls. You're walking down that road, or maybe you got into town from the opposite road through the forest. People in town ask it. I just have that encounter, the gnolls do this, and then I try to make it happen. Like, well, with the players, like, hopefully they do it. If not, then I find something else for them to do. But god damn, I don't know what it is. It's not even late. I'm not tired. I'm just yawning a lot. But yeah, like, and then from that gnoll encounter, I'll write down that I want them to find that gear, and I'll throw in different ways. Like usually I give about 4 or 5 different ways. Excuse me, Dr. Pepper. But yeah, normally I'll find a few, normally about 5, sometimes more ways to try to link the players back into finding that gear. Like maybe it's someone they cared about, maybe even someone at their church or temple, whatever, of a god they're worshiping, also got looted on the way. Maybe it's just from some shopkeeper. Yeah, maybe it's them themselves. Like maybe they didn't defeat the gnolls, maybe the gnolls got away with something from them. Well, there's a lot of different ways to get them back into it, and then depending on what item I give them, it's usually Mages Guild, research, things like that. Sometimes I've gone with even the king himself had things missing, little bits and pieces like that, and then I just continue from there. I always just give that, instead of being like, at this battle, freaking, you see 5 bugbears, and then write down everything that those bugbears are going to do, say. I try to keep it pretty basic to this encounter happens, and how to get back. Like, if there's a speech I want one to give, I definitely will write that down. Like, my last encounter in my home game is actually going to start off with a speech, because they just defeated one of the main enemies, and I'm looking, well, not main, I'd say sidekicks of the main enemy, but there's a speech involved from where they're at, a thank you speech kind of thing. But I even have NPC guest stars. I tell them, like, if you get defeated, like, or near death, I want you to give this speech. That way there's a little bit more than just running and killing these things, because that gets boring after a while. I want you to, even in battle, I want you to still be getting the full story of things. And it bothers me. I've played with DMs. I'm not bashing on any DMs, but I have played with a few that in battle the enemy doesn't say anything, players don't say anything, and I'm just like, I don't know if you've ever witnessed this fight on the street. People talk, and they talk a lot. Like, as a teenager, I used to fight all the time. So, believe me, I know there's a lot of, like, shit talking, or whatever you want to call it, happening during a fight. But, yeah, for campaigns, like, I try to start off something. If you go by the CR, that's challenge rating for you new DMs. But if you go by CR, and just stick with however you're doing that. But I'm not a CR person. I usually do start off with a low because I'm pretty aware. I've been playing D&D for a few 20-ish years now, so I'm pretty aware of what monsters low levels can take on and such. But definitely, I'm a big fan of draw the map as you go style, but I also like now that I've drawn my map, I love having a whole map for, like, I always start people off on my smallest island, and I know where everything is, and like I've had people destroy whole cities, erect new cities, just build random towers, watchtowers, actual like 4-story tower, houses, everything. Like, I still let all of them do that, and I just add it to my map. So that's that. But I like having the map drawn out already. That way I'm not sitting there being like this. I can show the players, I can sell maps, and anytime someone asks him something, like player I mentioned earlier who is wooing NPC character, he bought a house in the middle of the island, had it nicely customized for him, all that, and I believe that customization just ended here shortly, but I added it to my map, that way it's always there. And just for gameplay, like, there's so many different ways to start off. You can do your tavern, you can do, I did a wood group. We were all bards, and we all started off knowing each other already, and we started off on a mission to get back home, because as bards we were students, and we were learning ways of a bard, and met up at a bard college, and one of them said, I know this spell, bamped us all the way. The spell obviously didn't work, but bamped us to where we didn't know the mission was get back home, which is mainly every mission if you ask me. But yeah, there's so much to start off with. You can do your basic I believe even 5th edition gives you basic ideas for campaigns. I'm a big fan of the 3-5 idea, the 100 adventuring ideas. I like to roll a few of them and tie them all together to make one epic story. But yeah, that's about it. For just adventure designing, campaign wise, just remember your story. You might have a whole great plan. Your players, as soon as they enter, they're going to mess up that plan. So don't even worry about them not going along the story. Just try to connect them to the major issues that happen. Even if it takes longer than you planned, don't worry about it. And I like to do it if they don't get to the part, like if it's a time-wise thing and I try my best to get them back to it, I just let that event happen. Like, it was a bad event or a good event, I'm just like, this happened, and because no one was there to stop it. I do a sandbox world though, so I don't know if that would work for some of you railroading campaigners or module campaigners per se, but it all definitely depends. I've only had 2 people now quit my campaign because of the way I play. Most of them drop out because of school stuff, and we just try to continue when we can. But for the most part, I've only had 2 people complain about my campaign and the way I run it, and those people didn't even care about. They loved my campaign. It was actually the rules of my table that they disagreed with. So do what makes your players happy though. Like, I tried to work with the players who dropped out. It did not work, and that's fine. It's gonna happen. But definitely just dungeon dragon design, just for campaign, just start off with a basic idea and work it into something more. Always more, and for the end, make it a spectacular ending. Like, if your players are working good, hard with you, they deserve that spectacular ending. I have done a campaign where we did everything we were supposed to do, and at the end of it, it was just congratulations by one person. He said, "Good job. You ended it." There's no feast. There's no, "Oh, thank you." There's no, "You saved the world." None of that crap. We did end up stopping a huge attack from. It was a small city, but no one in that city even seemed to care. Like, they were so concerned during us trying to save it. But once we completed it to where the attack stopped, no one in town even cared. And don't do that to your players. So definitely give them that big bang, amazing ending. Even if it's not a thank you from the people, but I've done it to where afterwards, like, I let them know, like, that little town, like, that they're living tonight, like, you might have not even gone back to the town. You might have rested on the hill, but you're just staring at a town you just saved, and you see the lights flicker, things like that, and you're just watching the town that you saved. You don't need that thank you. And that's your celebration. Like, maybe you're just sitting on a hill drinking with your buddy who helped save it. And things like that. It all depends on your players. Get to know your players. And once again, I'm DM Spike, Fools of Desire, and that's my basic run-to quick campaign. How I handle campaigns. Like, I could bust out a whole book and go through step by step, but really it's just come up with an idea. Make sure there's 5 different ways. 5. To get to that idea. Alright, I call it the easy to hard ways to get back to the campaign. And most of them are pretty easy, and that's that. And then from the first step, always do something to get to the next step. 5 ways to get to the next step. It's just step by step by step, like every single one. And if you're doing a sandbox, you definitely need some steps to get back into it, because your players are going to come up with all kind of different ideas of what they want to do. Give them that 5 things. Like, point out, like, after a mission, like, when they start buying random gear stuff, maybe they're looking to buy a forge because they've got that money now that they've completed a bunch of quests, and they buy the forge, they start building stuff. Remind them, even if it's a harsh reminder, like someone comes in town all bloody messed up because they were supposed to go stop freaking the orcs from raiding another village, and they didn't because the orcs got away. That didn't happen. Remind them that just because they decided to take a break, the enemy's not taking that break. But 5 reasons, 5 steps. Every deal from the get-go. Give it 5. 3 if you got easy players that go along with you. It never happens to me. Hopefully it happens for you, but 5 reasons. And that's DM Spike with basic how to make a quick campaign, and just most of mine have 5. I start off with basic 5 events I have and work from there. And I'm not saying after 5 events you're going to meet the big baddie, but after 5 events I usually throw in a henchman. I like to throw in the first henchman probably ever so often, usually after 1, 2, maybe 3 events that happen. So, or at least a big baddie. But DM Spike, Fools of Desire. If you like the video, give that thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumb down. I don't care. I'm making these videos. If you like them, you like them. If you don't, you don't. If you want more advice, ask me. I'm not the best at making videos. This is my 2nd video. So, hopefully I'll get better with it. But, and remember, this video was brought to you by my favorite drink, Dr. Pepper. And by that, I mean, I drink it. Have a good one.